You need 300 milliliters of tepid water, and you will need 500 grams of strong bread flour. You'll also need the equipment that you can see that has been laid out on the table. Using your palette knife, create a well in the middle. Once you've created your well, add your 300 milliliters of water into the middle and start mixing using your palette knife. Remember to pull the flour in from the edges into the middle and carry on mixing till the dough starts to come together. It will start to look like this initially. Once it all starts to come together and starts looking a bit like this, you're going to need to roll your sleeves up and start kneading. The best way to knead chapati dough is by wetting your hands first and then pulling in the dough from the edges of the bowl into the middle and then flipping it over. You can keep wetting your hands as and when you need to, but make sure you don't add too much water, because then the dough will become too soft to work with and difficult for you to roll out your chapatis later. As you can see, I have wet my hands a few times whilst kneading this dough. The dough needs to be kneaded in the bowl. You can use your fingers, and you can also make fists and press down on the dough. You need to knead the dough for at least 10 to 15 minutes. The more you knead it, the better, because this activates the gluten. Once you finish kneading, wet your hands, roll your dough into a ball and set aside for approximately 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, take a small section of the dough and create a bread roll type shape. So what you want to do is you want to make it into a round ball. Add some flour to it and then place it on your work surface and press the edges down. You can see how I'm pinching it with my fingers and my thumbs. Flatten it out, and using your rolling pin, start rolling it out. Feel free to turn it around and add more flour, dry flour that is, to the chapati as and when you need to. You can even dust the surface if you want. You may not get it perfectly round the first few attempts you try. The chapati should be about 3 millimeters in thickness. Use both of your hands, the fingertips of both hands, to lift the chapati off the work surface and then place it onto the frying pan. Once it starts changing colour, so it goes from the doughy colour into this pale brown colour, that is when you know the other side is slightly cooked enough for you to be able to then use your spatula to flip it over. What you're trying to achieve is the colour of the chapati to be more or less a light or pale cream colour all over. If you can see it a little bit brown on the edges, you need to press the edges down to make sure it's cooked thoroughly. And there you go, your chapati is ready. You can actually put some butter over it if you want it to stay softer for longer, but it does dry out quite quickly, so make sure you eat it quite quickly too. So now you need to repeat this step again and again till you've used up all of your chapati dough.